Hello, this is an ordinary oak log, and today I will turn it into a fishing tool, that is, a real underwater spear gun. But in order for this log to be able to shoot, it will take some serious work. First, we need to turn this log into a board. Using this tool, we saw the log lengthwise. After that, we set the thickness of the future board. We saw the log again and get an unedged board, but since we don't need the bark for our product, we saw off the edges along with it. Now the board is ready with the parameters we need, especially in terms of thickness. We will use this board to make the base of the spear gun, and thanks to the fact that it is made of oak, it will last for decades. We have developed a drawing in advance, and the body will be this shape. Carefully cut it out with scissors along the line and get a template, which we apply to the board and trace with a bright pencil. Now we need to make a cut along the markings, for which we will use a jigsaw. Turn it on and guide the saw along the line. Oak is a very hard wood and is not easy to cut, so it will not be possible to cut exactly along the contour right away. We will saw it off in parts. The wood resisted so much at the bends that the saw smoked from the friction. But despite all the difficulties, we managed to cut out this blank. An oval hole still needs to be made in its front part. We fix a large wood drill bit in the drill chuck and drill through the blank. We make a second hole as close as possible to this one. We widen it a little with a drill like this and get the hole of the desired shape. Clamp the blank in a vise, as it needs to be processed using various methods to give it a beautiful appearance. Take this tool in your hands and use it to round off the sharp edges. Work carefully and without applying too much pressure so as not to chip off a piece of wood. This hole also needs to be smoothed out. Take the same tool but of a different shape and use it to round off the sharp edges. After rough processing with rasps, the workpiece began to look better and fit more comfortably in the hand. Next, trace your fingers with a pencil, as we will be making indentations for them. I use this tool specifically for this task. With its help, we gradually remove the excess wood in the marked area. This process is very painstaking. Sawdust falls on the table, and with every minute of work, the handle takes on the desired shape. Thanks to such anatomical cutouts, the rifle will be comfortable to hold and will not slip out of your hands while hunting. Next, take a ruler and pencil and mark several points exactly in the center of the upper part of the body. Move 3 mm away from each point in both directions and mark more points. Based on these points, draw straight lines from the front of the body. You need to make a recess along these markings. A triangular cutter is best suited for this. Do not cut too deep, about 5 mm is enough. During the work, it became clear that wood is best cut along the grain. This groove will serve as a guide for the harpoon so that it does not veer off course and fly straight to the target. Turn the body upside down and draw a 4 cm line next to the handle. Then take a center punch and punch along the entire line so that the drill does not slip. In this part of the body, we will need to drill many holes 2 centimeters deep. To avoid drilling deeper than necessary, stick electrical tape on the drill, leaving the required distance from the edge. Drill the holes close to each other using the electrical tape on the drill bit as a guide. When the holes are drilled, use a chisel like this to slightly refine the resulting cavity. We have prepared it for the installation of the trigger mechanism. In addition to this cavity, it is necessary to drill a hole at a slight angle, starting from the guide. It will directly connect the harpoon to the trigger mechanism. When all the cutouts are ready, you can safely move on to more delicate processing of the body. Take a sander and sanding disc of different grades. We start sanding with this kind of sandpaper. We fix it on the platform, turn on the sander, and carefully process the entire body. Then we change the sandpaper and do the same thing again. We do the final sanding with this kind of sandpaper, which completely removes the traces of previous abrasives. After processing with a sander, the product has acquired a neater appearance, but unfortunately, it is not possible to get into this hole with a power tool, into the harpoon guide, into the cavity under the trigger mechanism and the handle, so it would be worth fixing it by hand. We take a piece of fabric-backed sandpaper, insert it into the hole and remove all irregularities. We sand the handle in the same way. To process the guide, we take a pencil, wrap sandpaper around it and remove all imperfections. We process the cavity under the trigger mechanism using the same method. Then we change the sandpaper to a finer grade and go over the hard-to-reach areas again. Now there are no burrs on the body, it is smooth, and the product looks almost like a store-bought one. Then we move on to finer sandpaper and rework the hard-to-reach areas. Now there are no burrs on the body, it is smooth, and the product looks almost like a store-bought one. Even without a coating, the body shines slightly, but we cannot leave the wood unprotected. First, we will cover the body with wood stain. We chose an oak shade that will further emphasize the material from which the gun is made. Pour some wood stain into a convenient container, dip a sponge into it, and apply the stain to the body. The effect is noticeable almost immediately. The wood fibers become more pronounced, and the impregnation itself protects the wood from harmful bacteria. We apply 2 coats of the product. After the second coat, the body takes on an even more expressive and noble appearance. As we mentioned earlier, the impregnation protects the wood from bacteria, but not from moisture. To preserve the body more reliably, we will cover it with epoxy resin. We chose a special one designed for wood. First, you need to mix the 2 components in the correct proportions. Place the cup on the scales and pour about 35 grams of resin into it. Then add 3 grams of hardener. After that, stir the mixture with wooden sticks until it has a uniform consistency, trying to do this carefully so that no bubbles form. Place the case on a wire rack, dip the brush in the resin and cover the case with a medium layer. Do this carefully so that there are no gaps. If you look closely, you may notice that in some places the resin is unevenly distributed over the surface. To fix this, take a construction hairdryer and carefully heat the resin from a distance on low power. The heat makes it more liquid and it spreads evenly. It took a whole day for the resin to dry, and now the case is ready. Look at the result. The surface shines, the wood looks like it is under thin glass, and most importantly, moisture is no longer a threat. After the case, we move on to making the trigger mechanism. For this, we will need a hook like this. We secure it in a vise as we need to saw off the excess parts. We will use a drill with a cutting wheel. We smooth this end a little with an abrasive stone because this is where the finger will touch. Next, we take a triangular file and make a shallow cut in this place, which will make it easier to bend the metal. We take the hook and bend it like this. Then we make another cut and bend it in the opposite direction. The result should be a part that will serve as both a trigger and part of the trigger mechanism. It fits perfectly into the pre-prepared cavity and comes out through the hole. All that remains is to secure it. To avoid splitting the wood, carefully drill a hole here with a tiny drill bit. Drive a small nail into it to secure the trigger mechanism in place. The trigger is installed, but it is not yet spring-loaded. Make a hole next to it. Drip a little super glue and glue this trigger bracket, made from a similar hook. To make the trigger work properly and return to its original position, you will need a rubber band like this. A little further from the trigger mechanism, screw in a small self-tapping screw with a wide head, but not all the way. Hook the folded rubber band over the head, pull it tight, and hook it onto the trigger mechanism as shown in the picture. Now the mechanism works as it should. Next, take a few bicycle spokes to make hooks. Using pliers, bend one of them into the shape of the letter P, then saw off the excess with a drill. Bend another spoke into a hook shape and shorten it slightly. The result is hooks that only need to be secured. Drill two small holes next to the harpoon guide. Fill them with glue and then hammer in the P-shaped hook. Install the second hook next to the oval hole. Secure the hook to the front of the body. Later you will find out what all these hooks are for. Now let's move on to installing the reel. We like this round one. Before securing it, we need to do a few things with it. First, completely disassemble the reel. It is quite primitive, so it is not difficult. Then, using a drill, saw off the part that is designed to attach to the rod. After that, attach the black part to the body and assemble the reel directly on it. Screw this small corner piece nearby, which will serve as a guide for the cord. The reel will make it easier to pull out large fish or adjust the shooting range. But in order for our spear gun to be able to handle large fish, we need to make powerful pulls. To make them, we will need this type of tubular rubber band, which creates good tension when stretched. Cut several pieces of the same length with scissors. Next, you will need nylon cord, both thick and thinner. Cut equal pieces of thick cord and tie knots at their ends. Burn the protruding parts with a lighter to further strengthen the knot. Insert the cord with the knot into the rubber band. Wind the thread tightly before the knot. Tie it well and then burn the ends. The rope is securely fixed in the rubber band. Make another pull like this. Now they need to be attached to the body. Insert the pull into the oval hole. Insert this cord into the other end of the rubber band and secure it in the same way. We attach the second pull. At this point, the gun can be considered ready, and I assume it will be very powerful. But one very important detail is still missing, the harpoon. Now we will make it. We will make it from a steel rod like this. Clamp it in a vise, measure out 70 centimeters, and use an angle grinder to cut the rod to the desired length. Sharpen one end of the rod to a good point. Then take a metal angle bar and mark a triangle on it. Use an angle grinder to cut the piece along the lines. Process the resulting piece of angle iron with a hammer, giving it a more streamlined shape using a large nail as a mandrel. After that, proceed to processing with a drill. Carefully file the edges and make a small cutout at the blunt end. Then smooth out all irregularities. Next, drill holes in this place. Another hole needs to be drilled in the rod itself, closer to the pointed edge. The part made from the corner piece needs to be secured to the rod. Insert a piece of nail into the holes and rivet the end with a hammer. We have made a flag that will prevent the prey from slipping off the harpoon. Next, take a welding machine. Be sure to protect your eyes with a shield. Connect the ground to the rod and weld 2 triangles closer to its rear end, which will serve as hooks. Then grind these triangles so that they resemble fish fins. Drill a small hole in the rear triangle to attach the cord. On the back of the rod, next to the outer hook, use a drill to cut a groove. Correct and deepen it with a file. The trigger mechanism will hold the harpoon in this groove. All that remains is to connect it to the gun with a cord. Tie the cord to the outer hook, threading it through the hole you made earlier. Unwind the required length and cut it off. Then wind the cord onto a spool. Tie a loop at the end and a knot next to it. The knot is needed to attach the shock absorber, which will be a piece of elastic. Tie the cord coming from the harpoon to the shock absorber as well. Almost everything is ready, but we decided to improve our spear gun a little by installing a diving flashlight on it. It will make hunting easier during the day and illuminate fish at night. We screw a mount for PVC pipes to the side, and the flashlight fits into it perfectly. The spear gun is now ready. We insert the harpoon into the guide and push it until it clicks. Until the groove locks onto the trigger mechanism. We wrap the rope from the harpoon around the hook, pass it through the hook, then through the fin, and hook the loop on the shock absorber behind the hook. We cock the trigger and the spear gun is loaded. Let's try shooting an apple with it. We aim, pull the trigger, and the spear easily pierces the large apple, which, thanks to the flag, remains on it. We made a few more test shots and made sure that the spear gun was working properly. Now we can move on to spear fishing. I came to a river with very clear water. In addition to an underwater spear gun, you will need a whole bunch of equipment for hunting. We put on a wetsuit, which will help us stay warm underwater. We equip ourselves with the rest of the gear and can go in search of fish. Diving underwater, I felt that everything around me was completely different. The underwater world captivates with its beauty and harmony. Swimming underwater, I encountered a rather large fish. When I swam up to it, it got scared and started to swim away, but the harpoon still hit it. The spear gun did not disappoint and performed excellently in underwater hunting. I think it turned out very cool. The spear gun is fully functional and looks like the real thing. What do you think? Write about it in the comments.